At some point in the digital age of boss babes, new money, and ambitious rookies, we stopped consulting our village's wisest. Women have been the heartbeat of the world within their respective communities, workforces, and families since the dawn of time. They are the magic makers, the peacemakers, and the ass kickers. Let's celebrate them with the Matriarchy Party.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Matriarchy Party. Wow, what a time. I can't believe it. I've just realized it's Tuesday and it's November. You probably aren't going to hear this for a little bit of time here, so it's not going to be November when you hear it, but where is the year going? I don't know. August was 72 months, and then all of a sudden it's going to be the new year. I don't know what it is, but for a party of one today, let me tell you about what's going on. I just got back seemingly 5 minutes ago from London. I had a content capture shoot with the studio on a top secret thing that I cannot say anything else about. Wow, way to just leave you on the edge of your seats there. But capturing with actors who I've worked with before. I can't say anything else, but it was very fun. It was a very quick trip, and I came back and then immediately went to a screening of Wicked. And let me tell you, I am forever changed for good, as they say. I was obsessed with the musical. I have been like selling myself to work on it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out this time around to work on it. And so I was so sad to not be in on the behind the scenes of it. However, watching it, they could have ruined it, you know, like anything that they're reenacting, like studios. It was fantastic. I was weeping from the first 5 seconds in it. I love it so much. You have to see it. I can't even describe it. Like, everything was so well done. I was like, ooh, how CGI are we getting in there? And like the practical effects, the practical sets, the dancing, the singing, the colors, the costumes, obviously the soundtrack. I was lip syncing, not singing. I know that is frowned upon. Don't worry. But I think I grabbed my husband like 3 times. Wait, like it's perfect. Can't say it enough. So go see it. By the time this comes out, you've already seen it, no doubt, 4 times. Let's see, guys. I also talked to a medium last week. This was crazy. I didn't know what to expect. Talked to a medium before, is a friend's aunt, and it was just like hanging out with a family member, and immediately my dad joined, and I didn't know. I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared with things to ask because I didn't know that if he would come through. He and my grandma were there immediately, and then we jumped in it, and like I got so much wisdom, so much clarity, so much peace. We talked for like an hour. I was just ugly crying the whole time. Talked about my siblings, like gave me advice, I was just so overwhelming. I was not prepared at all. I have been in a fog of dissociation as the world is on fire, and as it is. And I think like it's our job to stay engaged, and it's our duty to have hope, as someone told me the other day. So it's like the show must go on. So we have to keep doing good work and be kind and not tolerating bullshit. And that's all I'll say about that. And life is good. And the holidays are around the corner. And it's a beautiful day in Scottsdale today. And I'm so excited to talk to my guest and for you to meet her. And you probably already know her because she's kind of a big deal. We have such a cool guest attending the party today. My new friend, really, Alexis Linkletter. And she's a true crime producer, journalist, TV personality, and podcast host. We met this year through a mutual bestie at her baby shower in LA. And I've never left a baby shower, dare I say, feeling so inspired. Like, so many cool women there. So I shouldn't be surprised that you're so cool. And I'm like, oh, immediately let's be Instagram friends. And we've only met really twice now. But there were so many cool, wildly talented women there and all brought together that day. And I'm just so thrilled to now be in your orbit. And I'm going to read your bio at you before you can even get a word in. It won't be uncomfortable at all. I said your last name right? Linkletter? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Perfect. I was like, should have checked that. How dare I?
You're good.
Okay. In 2021, Alexis began co-starring and executive producing Investigation, Discovery's award-winning TV and podcast series, Unraveled, Long Island Serial Killer. The podcast continues covering breaking news in the Long Island serial killer case to this day. Alexis is also the host of Talking Evil, a true crime talk show produced for Discovery Plus. As a producer, she has been instrumental in the creative launch of several TV series, included Unraveled, Unmasking a Killer for HLN, and Deadly Recall for Investigation Discovery. She's also an active podcast producer, writer, host, and interviewer who has conducted thousands of hours of interviews with law enforcement, personnel, victims' family members, and convicted criminals for The First Degree, a successful weekly true crime podcast she co-hosts with Jack Vanek, which began in 2018 with more than 500 episodes. Hello, impressive.
Stop.
You were so cool. And I knew that when I met you. And then obviously like Instagram creeped you. And I was like, wait, no, I've seen your face a million times. I know exactly who you are. But hello, Alexis, and welcome to the matriarchy party.
Hi. Yeah, no, and I wanted to chime in real quick about just where we met too, that baby shower. I was not expecting that baby shower to be like such a feminist, uplifting, like that was one of the best randomly amazing things I've ever been to. I still think about it. Yeah.
I do all the time. And now we have a group chat with no less than like 19 women in there.
I know.
That just get to like spotlight the cool things that all 19 of them have cooking up. It is, what a gift.
What a gift.
To have so many new cool baddies in the circle.
Everything just aligned perfectly. It was an amazing day.
It was, and couldn't have been more her. And I feel very lucky that we all got brought together. And even if we're just social media friends, because we're living all over the country, what a gift to be able to have cool women to follow
100%.
and cheer along.
100%. I'm with you.
Well, how are you? Where are you? You have a very cool setup.
Oh,
This is
thank
in your
you.
home?
Yes, this is my office. It's black. I'm not really sure what I was going for, but I wanted it to feel like an old, scary library, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm in LA. I'm in Los Feliz, sort of under the Griffith Observatory, and I'm just here.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's where I used to live when I was
Really?
there. On Riverside Drive.
Oh, nice.
Like right at the bottom of the park there.
Yeah, I'm a
Um,
little bit further down. I'm in technically Little Armenia.
Oh, cool. I love that.
Yeah.
You probably get a lot of great food in your neighborhood.
Yes.
Do you ever go to Salazar?
Yes. I have been to Salazar, but not for a long
Throwback.
time.
I
Yeah.
love that place.
Salazar's
Great homemade tortillas and cocktails. So
Totally.
I guess next time we'll have to go there next time I'm in
Yes.
town. Yeah, it's definitely giving like spooky library curiosity shop where you're in
Yes.
right now, which I feel like is on brand for your shows.
Sure.
things you're-
Yeah.
Like more somber, serious subject matter. I even when saying your bio, I give it like my cheer captain voice, and I'm realizing I'm like, maybe you should have taken it down a notch when you're talking about like law enforcement personnel and victims' family member. Like you have to change the vibe. So I feel like I'm coming at you with enthusiasm and bright red behind me, and
No, but
you got to
weirdly,
get into the vibe.
well, I have actually a super similar personality. Like I'm pretty bubbly and friendly and upbeat. And I did not think I would end up in this genre at all, and I do realize how serious it is. But the reason I ended up in it is because I just love people. And I really think like having these conversations are really difficult for people who have been exposed to something painful. And like, I really am, I'm good at putting people at ease, and I'm super attuned to like people's feelings. So it's weird that I ended up in that space instead of like, I don't know, kids or something else. But it just sort of happened like that.
That's so true. And I mean, surprising, but not at all when you put it that way, because I
Yeah.
think that, yes, a personality type who's maybe more outgoing and like, but you can't be all doom and gloom when you're talking about such serious subject matter. Like these are real people's stories and their family members and that they're talking about, and like having connection and like an empathetic, warm personality is probably so much more, easy to connect with and welcomed than somebody who's like making it feel heavier than it already is.
Oh, 100%.
That's
And, like,
amazing. That's of
the
course why you're
bedside
so-
manner with the
Yeah.
people is really like 90% of it. Like you need to have the creativity and like sort of the entertainment industry aspect of it, but like that's not most of it.
It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like you see so many and touch so many different facets of the business and like the process and cases that are going on for years and years. I mean,
hmm
that must be no 2 days are alike. It must be very, very interesting and puts things
It
in
can
perspective.
be. It's really weird. It's strange. It's a strange job.
It's another, I love hearing about like made up jobs. Like
Yeah,
it
it's
sounds, if you
another-
say it out loud, people are like, that's a made up job. That's not real.
Like that can't be it. But it's like, no, it's
It's really-
the thing. Yeah.
Real dollars paid, real work done. It's weird. Well, I always
I
start
do
this
feel
thing-
like boomers are like, how do you make money? I'm like, never mind. I'm not even going to try.
Even my father-in-law's like, so you're doing publicity. What PR are you wearing? I was like, no,
That's
or
not,
like,
no.
what? But
Yeah.
sometimes, but not really.
It's all too abstract for them.
It is. Well, or just even the fact that you can do it at home and
Without a boss.
without you were the boss
Yeah.
and you were creating your schedule, but that also doesn't mean like you can like be down for like a Costco run at just like any old day at 10 o'clock.
It's a little
Sometimes family
confusing.
members are like, what do you mean you can't just like take off? I was like, well, I can, but things are planned and
100%.
it's so funny, because how long have you had your own business now?
Well, as a producer, I've been sort of like a freelancer for over 10 years and just contracted to work at different production companies prior to doing my completely own thing. So that's been going on, 10, 12 years probably.
So you're in it. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm just fresh 3-ish years into it. And it's still like the scheduling everything out, including time for rest or eating food or like recovery when I'm traveling a lot. It still like feels new because I'm like
that I still haven't mastered at all. But, it's just one of those things. It depends on how you cope with stress. Like I am one of those people, like I really just put a ton of pressure on myself where I just feel like the work is never done, especially when it's your own business. Like you're responsible for whether that business continues, whether
every facet of it.
Exactly. So, and it's not just the work you have to do that day. It's like you have to make sure you have work down the line and nurture
Thinking
the people
for the
who
future,
are paying you. Yeah, exactly.
Admin for the past. It's so
Totally.
true. Well, and I mean, what's a beautiful thing is it is more fulfilling and fun to be working 24/7. I always laugh at like, you left your 9 to 5 to work 24/7, and which is the reality. But like, because it's for you and like something that you're passionate about, like, I'm like, oh, my husband has game night tomorrow night, so I can get some work done. And I'm like, what kind of sick freak is excited? I'm like, let me get ahead of it. But I there's a lot of hats that you're wearing as an entrepreneur and freelancer. And like you said, and it just never stops. Like it's always a different balancing act. You think you get it right. And then there's a different season of your life or different events happening, or you have a different client their procedures are different. And so it's like always riding the wave, but what a privilege.
What a privilege.
Honestly, slay. I love it. I feel like half of this conversation will be us like, so what is like, we're like Instagram friends right now.
Yeah.
Like we didn't get a lot of quality time because there were so many women there. So I'm just going to be like, wait, I didn't know this about you. So this is great. It's an interview for me and listeners.
Like two gal pals chatting.
Just two gals. That's what I try and have it as. Like you're on your morning commute and you're hanging with some gal pals.
Yep.
I always ask, when we think of a matriarch, we think of a woman who's the head of their family, tribe, or organization. So when in your life, Alexis, did you feel like you've had to demonstrate those traits, whether by necessity or not?
I can think of a few examples. I'm the oldest of 3 sisters.
Oldest daughter hive.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think that sort of naturally sets you up to be not just in the position to lead, but also just you are given more responsibilities. That's just sort of, I think I read a lot about just like how that actually order in your family of your siblings actually does really shape your personality.
Yeah.
So it's sort of just my instinct to like try to lead in a group setting. Not because I'm controlling, maybe a little bit, but not in like a shitty way, right? Like controlling in the sense that I'm responsible. I trust myself. I trust my decision making. And I think I'm really nice. And I think I know how to, I don't know, organize.
Yeah.
You know,
you've been getting shit done since you were a little girl.
Exactly. So I find myself in that position a lot. And it just feels really natural.
I love that. Because did you set out to, have your own business? Like, did you know that early on in your career? Like, I'm going to do this for myself, or was that a surprise?
Well, it just sort of is how this industry works. Like, basically, you're an independent contractor. And I started off just working on other people's true crime shows. You know, production companies would hire me as a producer on their show. And that's where I harnessed all my experience. So when I did that is when I sort of learned like, okay, you need to be an independent contractor. You need to funnel your money through an S corp, and people are just going to be paying your company. And then I was like, oh, okay, so you could have multiple revenue streams. You could have multiple projects paying you to consult or be just, a field producer, whatever it is. So it sort of just expanded from there. That's sort of the business model that happened. Because there isn't really someone, if you have a bunch of creative endeavors, there isn't really some one person you could work for to do all that, right?
Right.
So that's sort of just how it naturally took shape.
I've never thought about it like that, but that totally makes sense because I have such a personality type that's like, I'm interested in 10 different things. I could do that. Like I always thought when I was 18 and you're supposed to decide where you're going to go with your life trajectory, whether that's school or starting working or what path you want to take. And you're like, well, I could do this or I could do this or I could do maybe, and you don't know until you have experience in anything like what you're like, oh, that's not a fit, or I didn't know that was even a job. Let me learn more about this. But that is such a way to like scratch all of those itches of like your many interests, your skill set, because similarly, what I get hired to do is generally the same thing, but the objective is always different. And I kind of get to put like my PR shoes on, my photographer shoes on, my editing shoes on, my many shoes or hats. I don't know the expression,
and
but
when you have your own business too, it's like, sure, I have companies paying me for the podcast or the TV show or whatever, but you're actually kind of responsible for having that PR hat on for yourself too. Because it's like, if you want to get hired again, if you want people to stay interested in your podcast or your show, like you have to self-promote too, which,
is uncomfy.
Deeply uncomfortable for me. Like I'm like an imposter syndrome person, and I don't want to be cringy, but I'm trying to do that thing where you climb cringe mountain because truly like no one cares. A, no one's thinking about you, and B, like it's being bold that people are attracted to, whether it's social media or whatever. It's being splashy, and that's deeply uncomfortable for people who don't like to make waves or rock the boat. And I'm one of those people, but I'm trying to I'm a recovering people pleaser, so I'm trying to like push through that.
Surely relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, and you strike me as a very confident person, but that doesn't mean like selling yourself isn't uncomfy.
Totally.
So it's like, I'm very confident, but like up until recently, I'm like, well, I can't ask to get like, if I'm not putting my name in the hat, then nobody's going to call my name. Like you're the one selling yourself, which
100%.
Luckily working with so many women, especially that are empowering and such great business partners and collaborators pulling me in. And I know you have a similar circle of like people that you work with a lot. Or the industry is so incestual that like somebody was at this company, now they're there and they're pulling you in, and that's a new client for you then. But so other people can advocate for you, but it has to come from you and believing in yourself. And
absolutely.
That was easy. Well, what are 3 words to describe you?
I would say I'm meticulous, imaginative, and I'm really empathetic, really. Like, I think that's sort of, I'm really good with people is probably one of my greatest strengths. So I would say, I mean, like, I think that would do it, those 3.
Well, and all of those suit that it's a perfect puzzle to be so successful within your career. Yeah. Because those are probably like the top 3 skills to not only being a freelancer, but just within your business and the type of subject matter and human interactions that you're making. But empathy is everything. Is it hard to talking about earlier we were talking about like sensitive subject matter and like heavy content, like, is it hard as an empath to not take that home and like absorb that into your life after talking to family members?
I say no. My husband would say it does, and that I just will not admit that. I probably do internalize a lot. I take great responsibility for it. If I do an interview with someone's sibling who's been murdered or daughter or boyfriend, something, and I make the episode and they don't like it, and then you feel like you've hurt them again. That actually doesn't happen to me because I work really hard with the subject to just understand what they're looking for. So actually, but it's a lot of emotional labor to take on that responsibility for that person's feelings.
Yeah.
So, and some people don't care. Some people are like, hey, this is journalistic. I'm looking for the truth. And yes, I want to have integrity in whatever I'm reporting, but you can also have compassion for what that person's trying to achieve, whether it's keeping, the story of their loved one alive because it's a cold case and they need media attention, or, them feeling traumatized because it was a domestic violence incident and they want to shine light on that. Like, you can certainly emphasize creatively what's important to them while also telling the truth and, being objective as possible. Like, you can find the angle that is fair and honest.
Well, you hit it right on the head. That's a perfect description. I'm like, of course, it's so obvious, but like figuring out a way.
It's a hard balance to strike sometimes.
Yeah. It's that balance, and that the objective is so different. And obviously when you're dealing with literal humans and the people that they love the most, that where you're kind of spotlighting you're doing fair and equitable work, but like what the focus or emphasis is going to be on would shift. And you would have to be empathetic and honest to do it in the right way that like isn't taking advantage. And it's still like, it's interesting for listeners too, and it's helping the case or helping people heal. That's amazing.
Well, because they're kind of putting their trust in you that you're not going to make them look stupid, or if they make one offhanded comment that could be interpreted strangely, you're not going to use it, right? Like you kind of want to have the
back them up a little bit, and
you want to have the back of the person you're interviewing. At least in my let me clarify. For my podcast and TV Unraveled, that was a show about exposing corruption. So that was not what I'm talking about. That was trying to catch them in lies because a lot of injustice was occurring. So it really depends on the platform, right? So that was really trying to expose and trying to get them to trip up over their lies. And that was
your strategy for that.
Well, that was the purpose, because they were the ones, committing wrongdoing in this serial killer case. So
you're catching the bad guys.
Exactly.
You have to be
right. Fair. So the first degree is really more about like personal narratives, right? People experiencing crime firsthand and the deep impact that has. So that's the context more I'm talking about, with like just them putting their trust in you that you're not going to shade them in their own episode in any way, because it's not necessary, It's healing. And that you would have a healing experience.
Exactly. You want to like tread a little lighter than you would with criminals that like have done horrific things.
Yes.
You obviously want like the hammer of justice being cracked down, where you're like, you're a human person that lost your sibling and is hurting deeply. I'm going to tread a little differently. I'm going to be more empathetic. I'm going to, of course, show you in the best light, edit something out, or let you explain yourself if emotions are raw. I'm sure there's just a different care that you take.
100%.
Well, your career has evolved so much then, especially even us talking about what maybe the trajectory you thought you'd take and then the career that you ended up in. What has success looked like maybe in your teens and 20s? What did that mean to you, to what success means now?
So I think in my teens and 20s, success was very superficial. The idea that I had of success was like riches and, I don't know, designer stuff, really just shallow ideas, because I think that's what is painted in pop culture and the media when you're that age and you kind of lack the depth and maturity to know what really matters in your life. So I think for me now, success is just freedom, the privilege to not be stressed out all the time, whether that's financial or with your time, or people who work as hard as we do but have kids. I've got like,
oh my gosh,
this elevated admiration for these women, because it's just managing your stress and anxiety and also tempering those things for someone else, and also being like a breadwinner in your house. I think that's incredible. And so many more women are finding themselves in those positions in their families. So for me, it just looks like I just want to not be stressed out all the time. I want to be able to pay my bills. I want to be able to retire, just really, that's what success, and then being able to nurture hobbies,
Yeah.
being able to do things you want to do for fun once in a while. I've really tempered.
What are you doing just for fun?
I'm bad at this.
I'm like, what are your hobbies?
Okay, so we're approaching Christmas. I love like over the top decor. Like I did like a Pinterest tree where I like, strung balls on, garden twine. And like I love doing over the top things like that. I love dinner parties. I love going to the movies. I love concerts. So stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of hobbies. Like my work feels like a hobby
No, I know.
too. But yeah, it's just things like that. I love decor. I love dinner. I love cooking. I love, reading.
Have you already
I just
decorated
started
for
reading
Christmas?
again.
Oh,
No,
okay.
we're decorating this week. I'm so excited.
We already decorated like a monster. And I'm not an over the top decorator, but still, I was like, we gotta have the sparks of joy. So earlier than ever,
Oh
the
yeah.
tree's up, the lights are up. And only probably because there isn't like any wow showstopper Thanksgiving decorations in my arsenal, at least. So I probably could have transitioned a little bit
Could do a
different. But
cornucopia or something.
yeah, honestly, something for next year for sure. I'm the same way though, because so much of my job and the research for it is so online and so also started as a hobby that turned into this. So sometimes I've been like really itching to have hobbies with things that don't have screens.
Yes.
So I don't have many either. And they kind of like are rotating, but like got really into reading again last year. And then this year I've read a book and I'm like, where did I lose it? It's so
You
sad.
probably just lost the space because sometimes I wasn't reading for years because I was doing so much like reading research, like reading court documents. So I just did not want to read. I was like, I read all day. So that
that's
really
true.
was dialed back for me. So I just started reading again and I'm like loving it.
Well, and finding things that don't feel like work. Like I was having all these self-help books and like inspirational business books. And I was like, this feels like work. If you're going to read like a fluffy rom-com, of course you would be like just kicking your feet and giddy and excited to turn the page rather than something that feels like another 30 minutes at work in the day. So that was for me anyways. I'm like finding subjects that were outside of my
self-help books are like, I love them and I've read so many. It is work because you're trying to figure out how to better yourself. They're aspirational and it's like, aren't we doing, like people like us.
My whole life is that.
My dad reminds me, he's like, you could never do another thing and just do this. And that would be enough. You could just, and I'm like, absolutely, absolutely not. I'm mortified that you would suggest that to me. Like, but he's right, and I think ambition is like a curse sometimes in reading these self-help books that I'm like, it's just never enough. What I have isn't enough. The hours I'm putting in aren't enough, but they really are.
It is enough. And obviously your success speaks volumes, but like we are our own worst critics. And I always feel that too. And I'm like, I'm buying vegetables, but now they're not organic. And now I'm like remembering to like deep clean my house frequently enough, but they have chemicals in the ingredient. That's very top line surface level stuff, but it always feels like there's something more to achieve. Like I have my skincare down, but have you started with red light? No, I haven't. Do I need to buy a red light machine? Like just wellness is $1 billion industry too, but especially with women, you're just like, and especially in our business, it's like everything is optimizing all day, body, mind, everything. We're just trying to better ourselves. And so it does get exhausting and it feels like when will it be enough? I thought I was doing enough, but something I've forgotten somehow, something else.
Totally. And wellness, I was convinced on TikTok by this creator that wellness is a con. And they gave all these examples about why it's a con and that it doesn't really do anything. I'm not saying fitness and I'm not saying beauty. Sure. I'm saying wellness. Yes. Whatever that is.
No,
And it's true. And it's like, they're like, okay, what wellness thing did you buy that actually
changed your life?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's not many, but trust me, it's like we're fed all these messages. Like it's such a defeatist.
Yeah.
World on screens where it's like, okay, yeah, your beauty, and they're coming up with new things wrong with your face. You got to do gua sha or like facial exercises or like NAD.
Now you got mouth tape and NAD,
which I did order on Amazon today. But
you know what? Listen, report back because I'm interested.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I was already convinced that wellness is a con, but I still can't help it.
You can't help but subscribe.
No,
I'm like listen, rosemary oil, is it going to do anything? But I'm going to order it.
What if this is the thing?
I would just one thing away from having it all together and
I
being,
know.
oh my gosh. Well, I have so many other questions to ask you, but we got to get into why we're here.
Okay.
Tell me
Love
about your
that.
matriarchs.
Okay. So I have two matriarchs that I met under the same circumstances. So when I was probably, 24, I started working at a production company in Los Angeles called Joke Productions. Now, Joke Productions, the owner of the company is a woman who I love. Her name is Joke Vinciune. And that's why the company's called Joke Productions. So when we ended up doing a bunch of true crime, it was actually really funny because I'm like, the company's Joke Productions, but she's from Belgium. It's not her name. Um, so she owned the company, and my direct supervisor when I first got hired there, her name is Amanda Spain. And I remember I had just been hired by her. I had my first job in production. I was working at Discovery Studios for another female EP as her assistant. So I wasn't really the most qualified for this job, but I stalked Amanda because she posted it in a Facebook group, the job, because it was in true crime. And I had never worked in true crime yet because I've done shows like for Shark Week and like bride stuff for TLC and things like that. So I stalked her. I messaged her on Facebook. I'm like, just bring me in for an interview. And I was basically like, I will blow you away. I will do this so well, even though I haven't done it. And she was just like, okay, I'll give you a shot. And then I still, unraveled my TV show was through Joke Productions. I still work with them to this day. So that first job, 10, 12 years ago, I've worked for them almost consistently for one project or another.
Wow.
Since. And Amanda, she went on to work at MSNBC as, VP of, she creates all the documentary content over there. She's like a Sundance fellow. She was working for Blumhouse for a long time. She's incredible. And, Joke still runs her company. She's got a bunch of shows that she's constantly producing in the EP of, and she owns the company with her husband, I should say. But she's really sort of the driving force behind it.
It's her name, the company.
Yeah,
so
exactly. And no offense, Biagio, Joke's husband, if you're listening, you're obviously a driving force too, but it is Joke Productions. And yeah, it was really my first experience just working on a team where like women were in the higher positions, in the, shot calling positions, and working in true crime, especially like our exec at Investigation Discovery is a woman too. My agent's a woman. Like I am seeing more and more in TV and film. Like, sure, are the Oscar winning directors all women? No. Should more be? Yes.
Yes.
But at least where I am, I would argue that there's more women than men, kind of.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I feel really lucky. And I just got married in June. Amanda and Joke were both at my wedding.
Oh, okay.
I talk to Joke almost every day. I see Amanda, relatively frequently. I go to dinner with her. They came to my wedding. It's just they're the two most important relationships for my career that I have. And my mom too. My mom was an attorney. She was very hardworking, so I don't want to discount her. But as far as who I am today, I would say so much of my identity is tied to my career that like I owe them probably the most.
That's so beautiful. What do you think like stood out between working with them? I mean, seems like your whole producer career, really.
Yeah.
What stood out that you were like, will be my mentor now, or like, I'm going to follow in your footsteps, or I love this and I'm going to take that with me because I love the way that you manage a team, or what was it?
Obviously they're both so talented in their creative fields, right? Joke is like an encyclopedia. Like she went to college when she was 16 at UCLA. She's like a genius. I've never seen anything like it. The way she organizes her life. She also has two kids. She was also PTA president. She just is.
Oh my gosh, she's
like
doing the most.
She's like an efficient machine and also creatively inspired, and she just makes everything look so easy. And Amanda, same thing. Like she's so creative, yet she's so she's pretty free. I remember being like, she's not as like obsessed with like admin perfection, right? Like she's much freer and just creative, but also I don't know, they're so different. It's hard to explain. But also the two things that set them apart, like they saw me through some stuff like at that office, relationships, heartbreak, disappointment. And they're just the most non-judgmental, easiest people to be honest with, even about things you're embarrassed with, or even hard conversations. Like Joke almost fired me once. And she's like, and then Amanda's like, yeah, you need to figure this out. Like, she's really pissed. And I was like, fuck. And then I did like a 180. Like, I buttoned things up. I don't know how I turned it around, but they sat down with me and they were like, you actually like turned it, like, you did exactly what we wanted. And like, that was huge because normally I'm not good with criticism. I shut down and I kind of spiral, and like I was very tempted to do that, and like my insecurities were all over the place. Like I was like, holy shit, I'm fucking this up. My life's gonna be ruined. I'm gonna get fired. And they really showed me that you can turn it around. Like sometimes you drop the ball because of an experience, or you get sucked into something in your personal life.
Well, and you were pretty green. You were in your 20s at this time, right?
Yeah, I was. And it's just one of those things, like they like showed me and they rewarded me for turning it around. Like they didn't just fire me. They gave me a chance. And then when I did turn it around, they were like, you turned it around. You can relax. Like you're better than good.
It wasn't like they were hanging that over your head forever that you fucked up one
and
time.
It was just like
oh,
a teaching moment where I was like, holy shit. Like even when you feel like you're fucking, even if you feel like you're messing everything up, you can bounce back. Even if you feel like you've ruined something or you've ruined your career, and I felt like that more than once for various reasons. And I just bounced back. But I used to not think you could. I used to think world was over if you messed something up.
Because the smallest of things that, like, looking back on things in my 20s that I was like, the world is over. I fucked everything up. I'm never going to recover from this. And it's like, A, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Everybody's thinking about themselves. Nobody's caring.
Correct.
But B, like, you can bounce back. And if you put the effort, that speaks almost volume than you actually fixing the thing. It's like that you put in the effort to make it right with the person or the business or whatnot. So that says a lot about you. And I'm sure that they were so impressed, but it's
people
a toxic trait, but
people love a redemption story.
Yeah. They want to be cheering for you. They obviously loved you and had been bringing you on for projects over and over again, but like they didn't want to fire you, I'm sure. But like, if you were messing everything up, then they're like, hey, like it's a business decision.
No, they're
ultimately.
there for business. No, and listen, that's where. Listen, I've also seen Joke fire people, and she's still friends with them after. It's not all
it's not personal,
tied up in who you are. Sometimes it's just, is this a good fit? And I still love you, but if it's not a good fit, then this isn't just about me. She has a whole team of people relying on her.
Yeah, And I mean, for somebody who didn't take criticism well, like, I mean, to be able to see that and be like, it's not just about me and her. There's a whole team. Like, that's your empathy. But you turned it all around. I mean, and
this was a long time ago.
Yes.
That
was one little thing in the blip, but totally.
Exactly.
Well, what do you admire most about each of them?
Oh goodness. Just their ability to balance family, empathy, and their careers. Like, it's really just, I am so afraid of having kids because I just am afraid to resent not being able to do everything I need to do, or feeling like my ambition is going to take a hit. And they make that a lot less scary because they are literally doing it. They have kids. They each have 2 kids. And they're also very involved with their kids. And somehow they're still doing all of it. And it just, I admire that about them. And also just, they've both been through hardships too. Mm-hmm. They just have handled them with grace. And just their ability also to just be like safe spaces. I've confided in both of them and they're not judgmental. It's hard to be all those things, like a creative, like a boss lady. It's hard to be that and then also not be judgmental and be nice and kind and thoughtful. Like, it's hard to be all those things yet somehow. And also just being a woman, not getting hardened by the sort of misogyny of the world. They're not. They're just continue to slay. Yeah.
Nevertheless, we slay.
We slay.
I mean, that is so cool. I mean, that's the full package, because you're thinking most people have probably 3 or 4 of those qualities, or maybe 2 of those qualities, but they like have all 5 or 6. It's a combination I'm constantly impressed seeing any mom doing the most. Like, and not to even, if you're a mom and your full time is momming or being a home architect, that is enough. And that is plenty of work. The same way, if you are not a mom and you're doing the most at work, that is enough. But as
It's
somebody
the
with,
emotional intelligence.
it's, yeah.
You know, it's like they have just, and I'll button up my feelings about them. They both have just the craziest emotional intelligence with straddling all of this.
And just like the emotional labor that, and like the button that you're turning on to go from one to another and do it well with a lot of passion. That's just, it's very admirable.
Yeah. No, I love them.
Seem very cool. I mean, I'm like, I want to do more Googling about them after this because I'm like, oh, let's look at all these production companies and see what they have going on and cooking up.
They're doing good stuff.
I can feel it. Well,
yeah.
That's like the ideal team to work on an environment, I feel like, is where like that approach is taken and such care for their team members. So that says a lot about them. Do either of them have a slogan or mantra that like, or advice that they gave you that has stuck with you?
I'm trying to think of the slogan. No slogans, but they are just very sage about not getting caught up in like people's stuff. You know, like they're both very focused and they know how to cut through the noise. And I think that there's a book that Amanda told me to read. You know, we just talked a lot about relationships and navigating big personality. In creative fields, you're dealing with a lot of big personalities. And it's like they just are really good at cutting through the BS and they treat people really well. So they assemble amazing teams. They manage teams really well. And without the slogans don't come to mind, but watching them do that and the advice they've given me about working with people has been the most valuable.
Well, and the advice has been through their actions, it sounds like, primarily too. Like watching how, like that is not a skill you can teach.
Right.
Like I feel like there's so many leadership programs and there's so much emphasis on like being a good manager or situational leadership. But like if you don't have that, like there's so much that's not teachable that comes down to like the way that you're treating people. And like you can get more done by hiring good people, rewarding that behavior and like investing in your people and being kind.
Yeah.
Like that's like, I wonder how they learn to do that.
Experience, high stress environments.
Yeah, I guess so. But I'm like, that can go a whole different way though. Like that hardens people, I feel like. And then they just, I mean, like what you were saying about like not letting the misogyny of the world harden you. I feel like it's hard not to. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm in my villain era. This is my character arc. I'm turning into a villain. Like I can feel like my optimistic glass half full, give everyone the benefit of the doubt heart get a little cold and hardened. So, I mean, that's a skill to be able to do that alongside all the other things that they're doing.
I take sharp turns like that too. Because like I am a nice person, sometimes I let things go a little too nice. I'm like, oh, you've confused me.
Don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
That's right. Because I can be a little mad.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I keep it in check, but like, don't push me.
Right. But that's like human existence. Like, I feel like be respectful and you'll be respected.
Yes.
And until you like overstep that. And if you've crossed a boundary or been nasty, then you're not going to get met with sunshine and rainbows.
You get what you give.
Yeah. You know, so just think about that. I think that so many times like men in leadership positions and this is not a podcast of like hating men but there's plenty of podcasts about men. So we're talking about women. But I think there's so much opportunity to like, I've completely lost where I was going with that. That is so funny.
Well, there is so much opportunity. I think I know where you were going where it's like, but we're still navigating a world of men, right? So it's like, I don't hate men. I am married to a man. I love my dad. You know, I have male friends I really respect and admire, male colleagues, but it's like we're still navigating a disproportionate world, you know, and being surrounded by women who are successfully doing that can make all the difference with your attitude about it.
Right. Right. And I think where I was going with that was similarly, if men are direct or giving critical feedback or in the heat of the moment get passionate, it's just all part of the game. But I feel like women are so frequently labeled emotional when you're mistaking my passion for whatever this is, good or bad, for emotions, which I'm a very emotional person. So there's a little bit of that too. But I think like there's nothing wrong with like being strong and opinionated and conveying that emotion. And if somebody has been disrespectful or like fucked up in the workplace, like you should be allowed to like course correct, and you don't need to be mean. You can be mad. You don't need to be mean. But like if you're heated, I feel like that's okay.
Yeah.
So we don't always need to apologize.
Passionate.
Yeah, we're passionate and we're trying to get shit done.
That's right.
So I'm not apologizing. Well, if you could say anything to either of your matriarchs or both, what would you say?
Just that I really appreciate you and thank you for all the time you've put into me, that you didn't need to put in, that helped me get where I am. And I definitely would not have any of the things I have today without them. Without that first job that Amanda gave me at Jokes Company, I don't even know what I would be doing. So,
Changed your life.
Yeah, 100%. They changed my life. And they just reinforce the confidence over and over to get better and to course correct and to make better choices, really personally and professionally.
And just keep growing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I've learned so much from not even knowing them about like things that I want to like put in my pocket and traits that I want to embody.
I hope you get to know them. They're amazing.
Yes, I will. It's a small world. I'm sure we will.
It is.
Well, thank you for your time. I know how busy you are. I am so amazed and inspired by you, like creeping your Instagram and cheering you on from a state away all the time. And I'm just excited to see what's next and excited to meet in person for
more
a large
times.
coffee or cocktail for more times. Yeah.
And I feel the exact same way about you. You're jet setting everywhere. You're doing everything. You're like an Energizer bunny. I don't know how you do it. So I admire you so much.
Oh my gosh. The feeling is mutual. Oops. I'm giving a heart sign.
I love it.
Over. Well, if you want to see more of what Alexis is doing, go to Instagram at Alexis Linkletter, Linkletter.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're on TikTok, but would that be the
she's
primary
on
place? She's on TikTok.
Probably Instagram, probably more so.
Maybe LinkedIn.
I'm trying to get better at TikTok. It's just,
it's a whole thing.
It's a full-time commitment.
Job.
It really is.
It is. It's a lot. I know. I'm like constantly, the algorithm is so good and really figured me out that I'm like, my whole life will be gone. I mean, that's how we're learning about what other supplements we need to buy on TikTok Shop.
And the aliens
are in the water. Where do we begin? I don't know. I'm like, I'm going on here for work inspiration, and now I'm
Peanut the squirrel. Peanut the squirrel. Don't even get me started.
Don't even get me started. I'm seeing like raccoons that I want to be friends with. There's aliens underwater and NAD supplements to buy. So there's a lot. Well, thank you so much for coming to the party.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. This was a delight and a pleasure and an honor. Delight.
We could talk for 27 more hours.
I know.
Guys, if you have the gift of having the ability to call your mom, grandma, mentors, please go do that and tell them you love them and ask them about their life. Get out there and make it a great one. Bye.
Bye.